BowmanDigitalMedia.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Job Seeker Spotlight with Ira Bowman. I just noticed my camera is out of focus here, so hang on with me just a second as I zoom in and make this a little cleaner. Usually do this before the show launches, and I apologize. Okay, so I was supposed to have a guest host today because my new co-host is Liz Capance, and she was unavailable today. So I was going to have Lisa Jones with me. She is a career resume writer with Specialized Resume Services, but unfortunately, she was not able to make it either at the last second. So I'm flying here solo, but I'm excited to help you. Look, it's not about me or the co-host anyways. It's about you. What is this show? Really, this show is about helping increase your visibility and helping you find a job faster. How do we do it? We have two main things that we offer on this show. We offer people the opportunity to come and join us live. Like, for example, my buddy Brady, who is my brother from another mother, he was on the show, I think like a month ago, right? And now he's employed, which is really cool. But if you don't want to come on the show live, what you can also do is say, hey, Ira, you know what? It would be really cool if you would give me a profile review. Here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand this, but it's critical to understand this. Most employers and recruiters, before they would reach out to you, are going to visit your social media profiles. Specifically, a lot of them are going to look at LinkedIn. The overwhelming majority are going to look at LinkedIn, even before they would look at your resume. If your LinkedIn profile or your social media profile is not set up correctly, you can lose your opportunity to get an interview before anything else. It used to be that the resume was by far the most important piece of information in your job seeker toolkit, but it's no longer the case. Social media profiles are extremely important. So you want to set them up for success. That's what we do on the show. We help increase your visibility and we help you straighten out your social media profile so that you can optimize your chance when a recruiter or an employer would come and visit your social media so that you have the best chance to earn that interview. I can't help you on the show interview better but I can help set you up for success getting you to the interview. Now, if you want help with the interview itself, I can help you. I'm going to share with you something because I don't have a co-host today. So I'm going to do some of these other things. So check this out. This is Project Help You Grow. It's my website. It's a philanthropy. There's no ads. You don't have to join. You don't have to pay any money. You don't have to give me your email address. I mean, easy as 1, 2, 3. You just go to ProjectHelpYouGrow.com. Okay. But if you come here and go to the blog section, on the blog itself, I have all kinds of articles on here that can teach you or help you improve, what are the long odds of landing a job. This was actually written by one of my friends. So not every article is written by me. A lot of them are written by me, though. But cover letters, strategies, copywriting mistakes, keywords, fractional work, informational interviews. This actually is kind of outdated a little bit, but this is, back in March of 2020 when COVID was just firing up, the strategy for how to do a job search during COVID, time management, winning the interview. This is the article that I was looking for right here, right? So even though on this show, we don't necessarily address the interview itself, I can help you for free with the interview if you go ahead and click this. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna click on this thing, and I'm gonna grab this, and I'm gonna post this on LinkedIn. So if you want to improve your interviewing skills, go ahead and read that article. Again, it's free. There's no ads. You can see, like, a lot of people, when I launched Project Help You Grow, they were all trying to figure out, well, how am I gonna make money with this thing? And there's an aha coming or a gotcha coming. It's like, no, it's all free. There's no ads. There's no pop-ups. You don't have to log in. You can just, read the article, glean what you will, learn what you will, and move along your day. That's what it's there for. Okay. So anyways, back to this. How does the show work? We come in and week out. Now, I'm flying solo today, so it's just me. But if you want to join me on stage, all you got to do to join me on stage, hang on a second, to join me on stage, click here. So I'm going to make that post. And so you can join me right here. Just click on this, whether you're watching from LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, right? Click on this link, okay? Click there, join me, okay? And that'll put you in my green room. Okay, and then once I see that you got your camera up and everything's good, I'll bring you on stage. And then what do? I'll probably have you on the show for like 5 minutes. Okay, so just like a 5-minute conversation. I'm not going to embarrass you, right? But the goal will be to do this, to introduce you to the recruiters and employers who watch this show, to give them an idea of your personality, to give them an idea of where you are now, where you want to be, and what your skill set is. In other words, what problem can you solve for them if they hire you? Okay, so I've got my first guest who just jumped in. This is somebody that I actually did a one-on-one with last week. I think it was last week. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Anyways, so he is, Tom, if you're ready, I'm going to bring you on. So I don't know if you want to put the other earbud in or whatever, but here we go. Okay, so this is my friend Tom Roden. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ira.
Hello, you're on. We're live. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah, so we're live. So there you go. All right, so Tom is a CIO available for hire right now in the Bay Area. So San Francisco, Bay Area of California. He's in the peninsula.
I'm hearing some background noise.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. But you sound good on this end. So we can hear you okay. We can hear you just fine. Okay, so Tom, the reason why we bring people on the show is we want to introduce them. We want to give the world a little bit of information about you and then give them an opportunity to kind of get to know your personality a little bit. So can you do us a favor? Can you just give us maybe like a little bit of a rundown of your work experience. So, maybe like 60 seconds or so of this is my professional background.
So I don't know if this delay is such that I'm talking over you, Ira, but it seems like there's a 20-second delay in what I'm hearing from you first, and then the echo. But in any case,
hang on a second. Are you watching this on LinkedIn or are you watching it on the StreamYard?
It's on the browser.
Yeah, so don't watch it on the LinkedIn. You just want to kind of like turn that off for a minute and just do it through the StreamYard only.
Okay, is that better?
Well, you sound the same to me, but did that fix your delay for you?
That fixed the delay. Yeah, I was hearing it, I guess, through LinkedIn as well as through StreamYard. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, everybody. So that was the issue there, and that for future reference for everybody come on the show, I should have mentioned that. It's like the old days when you call the radio station. We're a little bit ahead of what people are seeing live. So there you go. All right. So Tom, what we're going to do, we're going to spend like 5 minutes together. So I just want to give people a little bit of your background, not an exhaustive, like 10-minute answer, but just like 60 seconds, kind of give them a rundown of your background. And then we'll talk about a little bit more about what you're looking for moving forward. Because mostly this is about, your personality and what you're trying to do. But I would like to give people just kind of a snippet of your experience. As I've already told people that you're a CIO available for hire right now, Chief Information Officer in the Bay Area, and you're in the peninsula, right? So people can get an idea geographically where you're at. Okay, so maybe just 60 seconds or so of your background.
Sure, yeah, and I'll go backwards. Currently, as you mentioned, I'm CIO, or as of April 15th, I was no longer the CIO. Our company just got acquired, which is one of the reasons why I'm interested in looking for my next opportunity. Still engaged and employed at now Siemens Healthineers, who acquired Varian on April 15th. So I'm working on integration right now, as opposed to focus purely on IT, but integration of our company into the larger Siemens entity. But my career has consisted of, for the last 4 years, running the IT shop at Varian, $3 billion life science med device company focused on radiation therapy, treating cancer with the use of laser technologies, killing tumors with radiation. And that role that I've been playing as CIO covers infrastructure, applications, and security. The CISO at Varian has reported to me, and we've been building that capability the last couple of years. And I think we've gotten to a pretty good place, a relatively decent level of maturity. Prior to my time as CIO, I was really focused mostly on the application side. I have done big SAP implementations. I have led our move to the cloud from an enterprise point of view onto Salesforce. We have introduced Workday in the last few years. So we've made big moves with a lot of the big names and brands from an applications perspective. And that's the last 13 years of my career as an IT leader. But prior to that, I spent about 10 years in consulting with PricewaterhouseCoopers and with Deloitte. And prior to that, I was with GE, General Electric. I was actually not an IT guy at all in those days. I was actually a supply chain guy. And so I was running the logistics operation, which included manufacturing planning, warehousing, and transportation in our European lighting business at GE, about a $700 million revenue business subdivision really of GE Lighting globally. And so I really come at IT from the perspective very often of a supply chain business person. And that has helped me a lot to connect with my customers, both as a consultant and now as an IT CIO, just having the credibility of having been in their shoes.
You, to me, have so much to offer. Like, I came away from our one-on-one conversation. I was very impressed with your qualifications and your background. And I think somebody's just going to be super, like, they're going to win the jackpot when they hire you. So
it's a lottery. Yes.
I'll be surprised if you don't get snapped up quickly. Now, I know from previous conversations that there is an interesting story behind this cover photo.
Oh,
But I don't know the story, and I was wondering if you could just share it with us. Can you do that in a couple minutes? Is that enough
oh,
time?
sure. Yeah. So one of the most important events in my life was coming out of college and winning a Fulbright fellowship. So you'll see that in my deep down, way down in my profile and in my resume. But that was to go study in Vienna, Austria. And I was back in those days, not an IT guy, not a supply chain guy. I was a history and English double major coming out of college with a minor in German. And so this building is actually in Switzerland, but it's one of many architectural wonders that were created by an architect and artist in Austria. His name is Hundertwasser, 100 Waters, Friedensreich Hundertwasser, for all those German speakers out there tuned in. That's a mouthful even for them. But
that 3 times fast, right?
Yeah, that would be hard. That's not his original name. That is the name that he invented for himself, if you could believe that. But Friedensreich Hundertwasser is this amazing architect who creates buildings across Austria, in Vienna, or in Switzerland, in Germany. He's even got a winery that he designed in Napa Valley, which I went and visited. But the point really behind this is that I like to look back on that event because it really set my direction. I came out of that and said, I want to be someone who does work internationally. And I ended up spending 8 years of my career with GE in Europe. I ended up finding a French wife and marrying her. I ended up speaking German and French pretty fluently. And it all began, so much of my life and work all began with this fellowship that I got to Austria. And I fell in love with Hundertwasser's art and architecture. So that's what's the story. That's the story.
I love it. I mean, your whole adult life basically is framed. The foundation is right there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna switch over to this so it feels more conversational here. Everybody that I have ever interviewed, regardless of the resume, they have certain things that are I hate to say quintessential, what makes them them, but certainly we just heard a little bit about it with your background there. But so CIOs, there's going to be a checklist of things. You either have it or you don't. I totally get that. What is it, like that special skill or that experience? And it could be some of what you've just talked about, the German and the French and, having a logistics type of a background to go on top of the IT. But what is it about, Tom, when they hire you that you bring to the table that's just different than everybody else? It's like, this is you weren't looking for this necessarily. It's not on your checklist of must-haves, but it'll be a nice value add to anybody that's out there who's looking to fill a CIO spot there in the Bay Area.
Well, I think it is a combination of communication skills. I'm not necessarily the flashiest guy out there, but I think I am one of the most effective at presenting and speaking and explaining and persuading people, peers, and even my team and others lower down in the organization to follow the plan and to engage with me and adopt the vision. Yeah. So I think there's that. And I think that the language is just an outgrowth from that I value communication so highly that I really did seek to find ways to communicate effectively, even with people who didn't speak my language, or who perhaps it was a second, English is a second language, and it was really a way to bond and connect beyond just the way that most people would.
I've seen that just in our conversations. I've seen that. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Okay. So the $1 million question that everybody around the world wants to know, Tom, is, okay, I'm looking for a CIO, but I'm not in the Bay Area. Is that something you would consider, relocation?
So I am entertaining some positions that are remote CIO type roles or CTO type roles, where I would end up probably traveling a portion of the time, but my base would be the Bay Area. And there are some other roles I've been talking with people about in California. That would be Southern California, for example, where I'd probably have to be traveling every other week, things of that sort. So I'm genuinely, Ira, not looking to relocate. So if that's the need, and I've had a couple of those kinds of opportunities come knocking on the door, and I've just said, no, that's not going to happen.
So somebody in Kansas City, I'm just picking that out of, it's just random, right? It could be anywhere.
Yeah, Calhoun, Georgia was the latest
Austin, Texas, or whatever, right? Okay, yeah. But I'm saying Boston, Massachusetts, doesn't matter. They say, hey, we need somebody here full time. You got to be here. That's not something you'd entertain. But if they're willing to work with you, either full remote or, some travel, that would be acceptable. Okay.
Yes.
What is it, if there's anything that you would like to convey before I have you pop off? So, something you want them to know, like this is important for me to share, that people should know about Tom before we wrap this up.
I think that it is a understanding of the business that I have been a part of at Varian, and the reason that I got into consulting was business, not IT. As you heard me say before, I was a supply chain guy coming out of GE when I entered the IT world through consulting. And they brought me in and said, we'll train you on the IT stuff. You have the knowledge of process and the credibility from your experience that will sell like wonders. So we're not trying to make you into the ultimate IT guy. We're trying to combine what you already have with some additional IT skills. And so I think that's what you get with me. You get someone who actually, generally speaking, first thinks process, first thinks maybe the way business people think about what we do, how we do it. And secondarily, it's IT enablement, it's automation, it's those things that IT brings as a servant to the business. Sometimes leading with brilliant ideas about how to IT enable some work, but also focused on process. And so I think that's something that I sometimes differ with colleagues and others in the IT space who think technology first, who think application infrastructure security first, and I think process first.
I think we all can relate to the person who's tried to communicate to the head of IT a need, and it was like talking to a wall because they didn't get it, right? It's like communication in IT can be really, really tricky if you're outside of the IT space, because it almost is like they speak a different language. But I think that you have nailed it. I summarized it in the comments like this: supply chain turned IT via consulting with a world-class communication style. And I'm not trying to exaggerate or use hyperbole there. I really believe that. So Tom, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I have given people the link in the comments for them to connect with you. You've already got Mariella, who's like jumping at the bits here, saying, Tom, we have to connect. And she said, Guten Abend. Probably butchered because I don't speak Russian or German, but there you go. And Kenneth Dunner Jr., who is got to be like one of my top LinkedIn connections. I love the guy to pieces. When I go to Texas, I'm going to give him a big hug. He says, somebody please hire this man. Tom Roden seems to be such a scrumptiously, deliciously, edibly tasty, good, heartfelt delight of a gentleman, a human being, and a friend of mine, and to millions who share his goodness with others for the betterment of humankind. It's hard. Look, the only person I know...
Not going to top that, Ira.
The only person I know who could turn a phrase like Kenneth is Paula Goodman. So I've got like 2 world-class like penmen people out there, poets and poetresses. But yeah, hard to beat that. Can't argue with it. So if anybody is watching, this is what I'm talking about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part of the live later, and I'm going to cut it up, and I'm going to make it a little packet for you, Tom. If you want to, you can just put that right in your featured section, and I think it will help highlight who you are. And for others that are looking to join the show, this is what it is. The goal is to help increase your visibility, give people an opportunity to see a little bit more than what they would get by just visiting your profile. Now they've got an idea of how you interact. And I did not, just in full disclosure, I did not prep Tom with the questions I was going to ask him before the show. Those were live fire questions. So if you're a recruiter out there and you're wondering how he's going to do under pressure, you get a little bit of a glimpse of that, because again, there was no prep. It was just like, hey, come on my show for 5 minutes and we'll have a conversation. So there you go. Tom, thank you for joining. It's been a pleasure. Look, guys, if you're watching the show and you want to come on, that's what it is. It's an opportunity for you to get some exposure, to let the world know who you are, what you bring to the table, and how they would benefit by hiring you. One of the main things that I learned in sales, all those years that I did it, over 2 decades of sales, was that if people don't know you, if they don't like you, if they don't trust you, it's going to be really, really hard for them to want to buy from you. You have to somehow get them to know who you are, to like you, and to trust you. Fixing your profile will help, but a video engagement like we just had, like Tom and I just had, it could be like a shot of adrenaline, or, boosting your race car with NOS, right? That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. It could just totally change the trajectory of your job search. And then you go from job seeker to new employee, which is the goal of this show. So come on the show. It won't hurt, I promise. When you get hired, I want my finder's fee. Tom, Kenneth wants a finder fee for those wonderful phrases that he threw out there so eloquently. Kenneth, thank you so much for always engaging. And Tom is thanking me privately. Thank you for coming on the show, my friend. All right, back to the show. So now, again, we do 2 things here. We do profile reviews and we do live interviews, just like we did with Tom. If you would like a profile review, go ahead and tell me in the comments. All you have to say is, Ira, I would love a profile review. I actually did a profile review unsolicited with Tom in our one-on-one call, which he did make some of those changes, which is really cool. Question: what's your opinion on a company that has not hired you but keeps looking for the same position for months? Why don't they give a chance to those they did not select? I will tell you this, actually, Marla, it's expensive to onboard. There's usually about a year's worth of salary commitment to bring somebody on, even when it doesn't work out. It can be a disruption to the culture of the organization to have like a turnstile. So I wouldn't necessarily give everybody that interviewed a shot. I think that sometimes people are waiting to find the perfect candidate. And any of you have been in HR in a hiring role know there is no such thing as a perfect candidate. What I'm looking for when I hire is I'm looking for personality and skills, but most importantly, personality, right? I want to make sure that I'm going to hire somebody who's friendly, who's professional, who's dependable, and who has the core skills that I would need. For example, I'm not going to hire somebody to be a surgeon if they don't have a medical degree, right? That just is what it is. But you can train for skill too. Like if I had to pick skills or personality and professionalism, I'm going to pick those things because I can help people with the education. I can help people get certifications and those things. So that's just one of the reasons. There's a lot of people out there that are, like I said, I think they're waiting for like the unicorns. You hear this expression all the time. And since I don't have anybody asking for a profile review, let's get into this terminology. Unicorn. What is a unicorn? You hear it. Unicorn means different things depending on Kenneth Dunner saying hire me. There are the word unicorn means different things in different vertical spaces. In the job seeker space, in the employment space, unicorn is somebody that is like rare. They have, like, for example, let's just go back to Tom. I think Tom actually is a unicorn because he has IT skills. He has supply chain background. He has multiple languages that he speaks. He's darn smart, super smart guy. And he communicates in just this easy, conversational, but purpose-driven manner that you don't ever want to let him go. Like, he is an awesome candidate, and I'm still shocked that somebody hasn't snapped him up already. I think the only reason he's still available is because he's only available in the Bay Area or remote for the most part, right? Like, he doesn't want to relocate on a full-time basis to another part of the world. And I think that's the only reason he's still available. But anyways, somebody in the Bay Area, and certainly there's lots of businesses in the Bay Area. I mean, it's a huge place. Somebody in the Bay Area is going to snap this guy up, and they're going to be like very, very, very fortunate that they got him. And everybody else is going to have buyer's regret because they're going to wish they bought him instead of whoever they bought. He's probably not the cheapest candidate out there, and he shouldn't be, frankly. He's worth every single penny. Whatever you pay him, he's worth that and more. Right? So unicorns are these candidates that are hard to find because a lot of people have a lot of experience in one lane, but they don't have a lot of experience in multiple lanes. And if they do, typically they're not as good. Like, a Swiss Army knife is great in a lot of situations, but it's probably never the best tool in any given situation because, like, if you had an actual screwdriver instead of just the bit on the end of that Swiss Army knife, you know what I mean? It would probably work better. But when you need, something to cut and something to dig and something to scratch and a flashlight and all the different things that are on a utility knife, it's convenient because it all fits compactly in one pocket. But a unicorn is somebody who would have really good skills in multiple categories and usually not something that you find commonly together, right? Someone please take a chance on Mariella. You're not going to, sorry, she brings a lot to your table. I agree with that too. The only reason Mariella is still available is because she's not 25. I'm just going to say that point blank, right? Mariella is a victim of something called ageism. And I've talked about ageism before on the show, and I've written an article about ageism on ways that job seekers can get over it. But it is really something that infuriates me. It's akin to racism. It's just based on age, not on skin tone or ethnicity, right? But what is ageism? Ageism is when you look at a candidate and you go, well, they're, in their twilight of their career and I don't want to hire them because, and then here's where the excuses come in. There's a whole diatribe of faulty logic there. I actually love to hire people with more experience. And here's why. Just a couple off the top of my head. A, they're far more professional. They don't have to train them manners. So there's that. Usually the wealth of experience that they bring far exceeds the role, right? So they're giving me like Tom. You hire Tom as your CIO and you're getting all these other things plus the CIO role, that experience, right? So there's that. The third thing, and a lot of times people forget this, the third thing, when I hire younger people that are still growing into maturity, they're going to be out after hours. They're going to be sick more. They may or may not even really care about having a career. They're just earning a paycheck. Typically, when you have people with more experience, they're more company type people. Like they take the mantra, this is my company. I represent the flagship. The younger folks don't necessarily have that. And again, I'm speaking a little bit in stereotypes here, which is not fair, but there are truisms in it for a reason. Okay. So generally, if I have to hire somebody who's a little bit more experienced, right, closer to retirement, I'm going to get somebody who's more reliable, who's more professional, who's more courteous, who is dependable, that I don't have to micromanage. Now, might I have to train them on some of the new technologies? Maybe, maybe not, but that is certainly a consideration. And will I have to replace them sooner? Maybe or maybe not. Because, the young guy who's going to change jobs every 2 to 3 years, which is very common now, job hopping, like all the excuses of why you would hire a younger person pretty much are gone. Because the other thing, like I said, you're going to have to make sure that they're even there. I used to hire young salespeople and they would call in sick, or they were supposed to be out making sales calls and they weren't really. And so, I would catch them not actually working, which is infuriating, right? So for a vast variety of reasons, like I said, those are just off the top of my head. Dependability, professionalism, all those things. I like to hire people that are more experienced. So just got home and have a great rest of your show. Thanks, Brady. Hope you have a great afternoon too, brother. So here's the thing. If you're looking for somebody who can help you improve the safety and the effectiveness of your website, reduce transactional risks, like let's say you run an e-commerce site and you're looking for somebody who can help keep, the transactional data integrity, that's what Mariella does. And she's really good. And she's available right now. And she has Ira's endorsement. How can Ira endorse her? First of all, I have met her in person now. Stopped by, met her in Santa Barbara the other day. But I've worked with her on projects, right? She's helped me personally and my clients with some security on website things that I've done, right? That's not what I do. I'm not a security guy. So I need help. Mariella helps me. It's amazing. Okay. So I know her professionally. I know her personally. I know her socially. Amazing person, talented person. She's not asking for, $1 million an hour either. So she's affordable. So you can hire her. You can have her start tomorrow. Mariella Stockmall. I'm going to bring up Mariella's profile since I've been talking about her. Okay. So credit card protection, fraud prevention, cybersecurity, that's what she does. Operations, e-commerce, risk management, fraud, chargeback protection. She is incredible. You need to check her out. She's got a decent sized network here on LinkedIn and it's growing. You can read all about her experience. She is the owner of this business and risk management, but she's looking for a full-time position. So if you want to hire from part-time to full-time, reach out. I'm going to go ahead and put Mariella's link right here in the comments. Okay. So there we go. Mariella, hire here. And Kenneth said, oh, hire me in the next 4 years, quick. So funny. If your culture, if you're in Texas and the culture of your business is such that it's a little bit toxic, hire Kenneth. If for no other reason, he'll fix the culture. I cannot engage on social media with a frown on my face when I got Kenneth in the audience because he cheers me up. He's infectious, not in a bad way, in a good way. He's infectious in a good way. Like he'll raise the culture of your company 100,000% immediately. And Mariella, it's always my pleasure to give you a shout out. Now, who in the audience wants me to do a profile review for them? All you need to do, give me the link and drop it in, and I will bring up your profile and I'll review it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to look at your cover photo. I'm going to look at your profile photo. I'm going to look at your header. I'm going to look at your feature section. I'm going to review your about components. I'll look at your skills and endorsements. I'll look at your recommendations. I'll look at the experience. I'll look at basically in totality. I'll look at it and I'll give you some suggestions on what you can do to tune it up. I will spend usually about 5 minutes max on it because I don't want people to feel like I'm picking on them, because it can come across that way sometimes. So I'm cognizant about that. However, the goal is not to pick on you. It's to help you improve it, because here's the deal. A lot of people don't know this. The average view on social media profiles is 6 seconds. On LinkedIn, it's a little bit more. It's 6.5 to 7 seconds. But when they come to your profile, when you like go fishing or something like that, what you want to do when you go fishing, you want to set the hook. And if you can do that, the bounce rate is much lower. So how do you do it? Like, for example, let's just go back to Mariella real quick. Okay. So, all right. One of the things that Mariella has here, she has this background photo that is on point. Why? Because visually, she's communicated exactly what it is that she does. This is the one thing that I don't love about Tom's cover photo, and I've told him this, right? People aren't sure what that's there for or what the story is, but what I love about Tom is if he can get them to talk to him, now he has a great story to tell. So it's not all bad. It's just not what I would do, only because I'm more worried about setting the hook. So what Mariella has done is kind of traded the strategies with Tom a little bit. She doesn't have a great story to tell about the cover photo like Tom does. I mean, he has an amazing story. A fellowship that turned into, like, you know, here's how I learned a couple more languages and I met my wife. And I mean, it just really changed the whole trajectory of his professional career, right? So, or adult life, marriage and career. So it's a really cool story. And I don't think that he should take the picture down. The only thing that I suggested was maybe put some words, you know, over on the side to kind of cover the, you know, to bridge the gap. But, you know, with Mariella, it's the opposite. If you're interested in credit card protection, cybersecurity, fraud prevention, she's pretty much laid it out. Like, this is what I do. So there's no ambiguity here. And I think that's the main problem with Tom's, or somebody who has nothing up there is even worse. Like, Tom at least has a nice picture. A lot of you people are still floating with the default nothing. And that's the worst possible thing. So get a picture up. It's better than nothing. Then if you get one and add a little description on the side of what you do, I think that's the best thing to do, because again, we're trying to set the hook. Now, the other thing she's got here, which is phenomenal, is she just lays it out. What is it that I do? And what I like about the way she's got it set up, these are keyword terms that people who don't know Mariella would search for. And she wants to be found for these things, right? Operations, e-commerce, risk management, fraud, chargeback protection. That's what she wants to be discovered for. And that's what's there. So a lot of you have defaulted this to your last title or your current title. Well, if you're looking for work, you're not like a CIO right now. You're CIO for hire, and you want to make that clear. So one thing that I recommend is you either put that little green thing that says open a network on your photo and have that there to let the world know I am hireable, like right now, right? Like, you can hire me today. I'm not searching incognito. I'm available for hire. So that, or you put that, you communicate that somehow in your headline, which is what I have highlighted right there for Mariella, right? So you say, because you can have more characters, Mariella, you don't have to stop it where you've stopped. You could add available for hire. And you could put, if you're interested in contract work or full-time positions, I suggest that you actually spell that out there. So after the word protection, available for hire, full-time or contract basis. That's what I would add if I was running this. But I love it because people are going to be searching for these terms. Risk management. They might be searching for risk managers. So you might actually want to add, you know, because you have more characters, you might as well use them, right? So you might want to spell that out too. But anyways, it's very, very well done. If you come here, she's got a lot in the featured section, which I really think people are missing the boat here. Tom, if you're still watching, what I would suggest is you take the video that I send you. It's going to be like a short video, like 3 minutes or so. I'm going to cut it up. And I would suggest you put it right there on the very first box of the featured section, because a lot of people don't like to read anymore, but they are visual. So they'll play the video and then they see it. And again, they get a sense of who you are. They get a sense of your personality. They're going to also see me, for better or for worse. I have a large social media presence. So, that could actually score you a few points. And with Tom, it's a little bit unique. I'm from the Bay Area. Like, I grew up in Las Vegas, and then I graduated high school and I went to college in the Bay Area. I lived there as an adult. I know a lot of people in the Bay Area. So that's one of the advantages of being on video with me too, I guess. Could help you out. But anyways, all you job seekers, if you're watching this, I suggest you just get on a Zoom or however you got your webcam set up to record 180 seconds or less. Introduce yourself. Tell people what you're looking for. Tell people what you're hoping to accomplish from now to the end of your career, like paint a picture moving forward, especially for ageism. Again, back to this evil thing that I hate, but it does exist. One of the ways that you can circumvent or overcome the ageism elephant in the room is, one of the questions they're really curious about is, how long are you going to work? Are you looking at retiring next year is the question. They're legally, in the United States, not allowed to ask you that unless you broach the subject first. So if you bring it up, now it's fair game, but they can't ask you directly, how old are you in the United States? And they can't ask you, how long are you going to work? When are you going to retire? They can't ask you those questions. Again, if you bring it up, then they can ask about it, but they can't start that. However, if you say in a video on LinkedIn, I'm looking to work for at least the next 5 years, then that addresses that concern that they have. Because again, remember, the younger guys are switching jobs every 2 to 3 years on average. So, if I look at it and I'm going to hire somebody and I got somebody who's most likely going to switch in the next 2 or 3 years, or somebody who's going to be with me for at least 5 years, I'm okay with that. It's like, actually, to me, that's better, right? So I'd rather not. I don't want to have to train somebody, and go through the process of bringing them in and onboarding. It's an expensive process. And so a lot of people are looking for somebody who's going to commit to a longer term. And again, if I'm looking at 2 years versus 5 years, I would take the 5 years every time. That's just me. Okay. I talked about last week a few different things, and we talked about ageism. Another thing that I broached with my co-host Liz is this idea of salary negotiations. And one of the things that it's very rarely talked about, but salary negotiations is important. It's a critical component in finalizing that job offer and getting hired, so being onboarded. But a lot of people are missing this, either good or bad. And I don't understand it, because it's not hard in the day and age that we live in. You can Google anything you want. You can ask Alexa for help, anything you want. So you should go in to these interviews prepared to talk about income, your salary and benefits, in an educated fashion. So in the next few minutes, because I don't have anybody asking for a profile review and I don't have anybody that's in my green room waiting to jump on stage. So I want to help you guys. I want to educate you a little bit on how you can be prepared to address that question. And I have detailed information for you in this article that I shared earlier. So in the interview preparation checklist, one of the things that that I want you to be prepared for, it's number 10 in this article, is the salary request. I want to teach you quickly how to be prepared for that part of it. So whether you're going for a C-level role or you're going for an entry-level role, you really should never be stumped by the salary request question. It is coming. They're going to ask you every single time before you get hired, that question is going to happen. You may not get far enough to get that question, but before you're going to get hired, they're going to ask you, how much money do you want to make? Now, if you want to throw them off basis, say as much as humanly possible, right? But you have to have a personality to back that up. But I like to use humor to get people to smile. Love making people smile. But okay, so let's talk about salary request. The final step in the process here is to prepare for the question. You know it's coming. How much? They're going to ask you that question. Again, if you're a serious contender to be hired, that question is coming. Don't ever let it throw you off. So you need to know some things about their. Let me look you in the eyes here. Before you answer, no matter how much preparation you've done, how prepared you are for this question, you still need to know how they handle promotions. Let me tell you what happens a lot. What happens a lot, too much, is potential employees, self-sabotage because they so desperately want that job that they put out a number that is too low. And they think in their mind, it's okay because I'm just going to work my butt off and they're going to see how valuable I am and they're going to give me a raise. No. Most cases, no. Most jobs these days don't even consider a promotion or a raise for a couple of years. You get what you ask for a lot of cases, and then you live on that for a couple of years. So if you go into the interview question, when they say, do you have any questions for me? Yes, I do. I have a question for you. Ready? Here it is. How do you treat promotions and raises? I want you to ask that question every single time before the interview ends. If they don't give you an opportunity to ask a question before you shake the person's hand, you need to shake their hand, by the way. Even in the age of COVID, shake hands, okay? It's important. Here's the thing. Ask them how they treat promotions and raises, because I don't want you to get the job with the assumption that you're going to get a raise in the first 6 months because you're going to do a super killer job. Because they might just expect they hired you for a reason. They're impressed with you already. You've just promised them the moon throughout that interview process, and don't tell me you didn't, because you did, just like everybody else does. So they're not thinking raise. They're thinking you're happy with the amount of money that they're paying you. That's what they think. I'm just telling you. I know in your world, you're thinking one thing, and in their world, they're thinking something else. That's why I'm trying to help you out here. Okay, that's the whole reason I'm getting into this so deep, because I want you to understand. They're not sliding you in their mind by not giving you that raise. They don't know you're starving to death. They don't know that you asked for a lot less than you should have asked for just so that they would hire you. You had a bad strategy, and I don't want you to have a bad strategy. I want you to have a good, solid strategy. So the very first thing, before you spit out a number, I don't care what the number is, don't say it. Don't say a number, any number, until you know how they handle promotions and raises. Because if you're going to have to live, let's say you're Tom, and you have to live in the Bay Area, oh my God, most of you have no idea how expensive it is to live in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's ridiculous. Let me tell you how ridiculous it is. I don't live in the Bay Area anymore because I couldn't afford it, okay? I was commuting 2.5 hours from the Central Valley into the Bay Area because of my large family. I couldn't afford to live in the Bay Area. So I moved down south, and then I got laid off, and then I started my own business. It's been a wild ride. Anyways, but here's the deal. If you ask before you throw out that number, how they handle raises and promotions, and they say, well, we typically don't, even look at promotions or raises for the first couple of years. Now you know that you not only need to ask for a number, and this is where I'm going with this. I've taken painstakingly long time to say this, but here's the point. If you know they're not going to give you a raise for at least 24 months, you need to look at almost everybody knows what inflation is right now because they've seen it. The cost of everything goes up. Well, inflation is normal, right? Just year over year, the cost of living goes up. You need to account for everything: your mortgage or your rent, your car, gas, food, healthcare, savings in retirement, entertainment expenses. It all needs to be accounted for. And look, you don't have to memorize this. I have this for you already in this article. I've already talked about it right here for you to give you like some ideas. Okay. So you need to know what the market pays. What is the typical salary in your market for that job? You need to know that going in, and that's something you can Google. You don't have to like guess. All right. Now, in this article, I talk about how to do an informational article. I have another article that specializes in just that, right? So do an informational interview. If you're going for a job title or you're moving to an area that you're not familiar with, interview somebody who already does that job in that area, okay? And this is one of the things you guys can talk about. How much money should I ask for? Okay, they'll give you some advice. But here's the deal. Know what the market rate is. Then you need to know what rate of inflation is expected in the next 24 months. Again, that's something you can Google. And right now, look, elections have consequences. People didn't want the leadership that was in before. They voted in new leadership. Well, new leadership comes with new, consequences, for better or for worse. You could be happy with the new leader, but the new leader also brings in inflation, right? Because their economic policies are not, to me, as favorable, right? If you like inflation, I guess they're favorable, but it just depends on the way you look at it. But look, the cost of everything is up. Cost of housing, cost of gas, cost of fuel, cost of everything. So healthcare, all of it, everything is going up. It's more expensive. So you need to be prepared to live not only today, but next year and the year after that on the salary that you take. If you don't ask for enough, then you're going to have to work a second job or a side hustle to make up the difference. And I don't want you to do that because that's how you burn out. So when inflation is low, this is not as important. But when inflation is high, and it's off the charts high right now, and it's not going to get better, it's actually expected it's going to get worse. Okay. Again, this is why voting is so important. If you don't like the way things are going, then just remember that the next time you vote. Maybe vote differently. But here's the deal. It doesn't matter. Inflation is what it is. Well, no matter if you voted for the current people or the former people, that's not what this show is about. This show is about helping you prepare for your job. So what you ask for is usually, a rule of thumb, about 10% more than what the market rate would bear, right? So let's say they normally would pay you 80. Then I would say you ask for at least 88, because that's a cost of living increase, right, of 5% year over year for 2 years. That'll give you, but you also have to know all your expenses. Can you live in that area? Like, for example, I'm a special case, but I have a lot of kids. Many of you know, right? I have 8 children. So my cost of living is higher in any given area than just about everybody I know, because I need more space and I've got to buy more food and my health care is more and all that stuff, right? So I moved around a lot because one of the reasons why I moved is so I could find jobs that would, companies that would pay me what I needed, because I understand these things, right? How to ask for more. Okay. So know what your mortgage is, know what your food is, know what your vehicle is, know what your healthcare is, know what your entertainment is, and be realistic when you're making these budgets. Be realistic. And then what I tell people is add 10%, because if you add 10%, that usually will cover inflation. Okay. Usually. Now, again, inflation right now is skyrocketing. So maybe 10% is not enough. So that's why I want you to know what the inflation rate is. That's why I brought all that up. If you do these things, you know what the market will bear. You know what your cost of living really is, and you know what anticipated inflation is, and you know, because you asked how they handle promotions and raises, that you're not even going to be in consideration for a true raise for 2 years at least, you're going to ask for a number that doesn't work for you right now, but works for you in 2 years. And when they ask you to justify that number, this is what's brilliant about all the prep work that we do. When you do all that prep work, you know what the going rate is, you know what inflation is, you know that it takes them 2 years to give you a promotion. You can say, look, the reason why I'm asking for $88,000 a year, even though the going rate I know is 80, is because I know you're not going to give me a raise for 2 years. And in 2 years, I'm not going to be able to live on $80,000 a year. I'm going to need more. And I don't want to have to divert my attention and get a side hustle to make up the difference in what you're paying me and what I need to live, so that I can put all my focus, all my professional energy on you Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and I can get the proper rest and relaxation that I need during the weekends and after hours, so that I'm completely fresh for you. If you answer that way, almost every interview person in the world, anybody that you talk to, is going to fall out of their chair. They're going to be super impressed because you came in prepared. You asked for a number that was fair, a little bit high, but then you were able to justify why you need it. Maybe what the person will do is go, hey, you know what? Instead of waiting 2 years, why don't we pay you 84 and we'll look at a raise after 12 months? Great. Now you just got them to commit to a raise review after 12 months. You've got them to change their policy for you, if not for everybody. But that's how you negotiate. You come in prepared with the actual data, and you can back up your request. Again, you're showing a high amount of intelligence, professionalism, and that you're super serious about this job. And what you don't even know that you did, but you did, is you just committed to working for them for at least 2 years, because you're asking for, that type of salary. You see how this works? Because on the other hand, what ends up happening a lot, and one of the reasons why these young kids bounce 2 to 3 years, is because they never get the raise. They don't ask for enough money. So then when they get the job, they're already pissed off that they're underpaid. But they were really getting paid exactly what they asked for. And this is why I have trouble empathizing or sympathizing for people who don't make enough money. It's a lot of times bad strategy is the reason you don't make as much money as you need to make. You get it? Because you didn't go in prepared. Read the articles on Project Help You Grow. I swear it will help just about everybody out there, right? There's so much data. I am the nerd that you want to learn from me. You don't even know you want to learn, right? But you need to learn. These are negotiation strategies. I apply this, by the way, to everything I do, right? Strategies have to make sense. They have to be well thought out, and they have to work. I'm telling you, you don't want to get a position that you're pissed off. The day you get hired, you don't make enough money and you're just waiting for them to notice and give you a raise. They're not going to notice. You impressed them thoroughly enough that they picked you, they hired you over every other candidate, but they hired you at an understanding that you would be happy with that rate of pay. It's not their fault that you weren't forthcoming or that you were unprepared. So be prepared. Anyways, I am over the hour, and my friend is cheering me on. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you're open to getting better, to improving your strategy, I will push you to do that, right? And I'll help you do that. If you're not, you probably won't like me too much, because I play I hate to say the devil's advocate, but I'll play the counterpoint a lot, just to help you try and sharpen your mind, because all of us can be better. I could be better at everything I do. I'm sure that's true with just about everybody we meet. None of us are perfect, but I hate to see people be unhappy, or certainly, thanks, man. I do know my stuff. That's my job, right? My job is to help you guys get better. So in this one area, which is super important, how much money you make, it's the reason we all go to work in the first place, right? Like, I run Project Help You Grow because I love helping people, right? But I go to Bowman Digital Media to, it's the company I own. But I still, when I clock in to work, I'm doing it to make money. You know what I mean? Like, how did I come up with the rates that I charge my clients is based on how much is basically what I just told you guys to do. I just did it a little bit different way, but there's a lot of math behind it, right? Like, why do I charge $100 an hour for design fees and things like that? I can tell you why. It's because I got to feed my family. You know what I mean? So be prepared in everything that you do, right? Not just in the salary, but don't get the job and, a month in regret that you didn't ask for more money. If you really needed more money, you should have been better prepared in the negotiation part. You get to negotiate your salary up to the minute you sign the offer letter. Everything is negotiable until you sign that letter of intent. Once you sign that, they're not going to give you anything else. So if you really need that day off, or you really need that certification, or you really need, flexible hours, like Tom said, he was willing to work anywhere in the Bay Area, or he was willing to work anywhere remotely, and he's willing to travel a portion of the time, right? So when he's going into that interview, if somebody's like, let's say in Springfield, Missouri, or wherever, right? Okay, so, or is that Illinois? I think there's actually one in each. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Okay, so wherever they are, if they're not in the Bay Area, he already knows, like, hey, I'm willing to travel and be in your local market for a portion of my week or month, but not full time. Like, I'm not moving here. So, that's a stipulation he's already prepared for. So have the same things prepared for, any of your circumstances that are important to you. Like, maybe you have a thing where your kid's in traveling softball and you need to go with them, or maybe, you have a side hustle and you need Fridays off. Like, you can negotiate any of that stuff up front before you sign that letter of intent. You just have to have that conversation. But then once you sign, they're not going to expect that now you start saying, hey, I need a raise in 6 months. It's like, what do you mean? We don't do that. I mean, our company policy is, we don't even look at raises for 24 months. You're going to hear that. That's a standard answer. That's not them being mean or trying to be mean. That's just, the way they run their business. But if you can talk about that, or at least prepare for that before you sign the letter of intent, then you can be happier, and your chance of staying longer is greatly increased. So everybody wins. Anyways, my name is Ira Bowman. This show is Job Seeker Spotlight. I'm so excited that I will have my co-host back with me next week, barring any surprises or last minute changes. But Liz Capance, she had an event that she needed to go to today. I was scheduled to be with Lisa Jones today. She had a last minute thing come up and she couldn't make it. And my thoughts and prayers are actually with her in that situation right now. But this show happens every Thursday, rain or shine. Comes on 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern. You could time adjust for any other time zone around the world. I appreciate Kenneth and Mariella and Brady and Tom, especially, for coming on the show. Thanks for everybody who watches this both live and after. We get a lot of views on YouTube and LinkedIn after the show is over. So thank you to everybody who has participated. And I want to answer this question real quick, Kenneth. Yeah, 100%. Even if they're open 5 days a week or 24/7, doesn't matter. That is something that's negotiable, right? How many days you work, the hours you work, the rate of pay you work, even like split shifts, which are not as common in the United States, more common in other parts of the world. But you can ask for anything. It's all negotiable. Get it before you get hired. That's the time to negotiate. They are more willing to bend. They are more flexible before you sign than after you sign. So make sure you do that in the negotiation part. And it is my wife's birthday. I'm getting ready to bounce off of this thing so I could take her out and take her to dinner. So anyways, thank you all for watching. I'll be back next week. Again, come prepared to join me. The most valuable thing we do for job seekers is to get you on camera. So come prepared, be camera ready. Join me on stage and Liz. It will not hurt. 5 minutes or less. We'll have you in and out, but we're going to help you increase your profile visibility, and we'll give you some video content that you can use in your featured section on LinkedIn, which is a really cool advantage because Liz has like 32,000 followers, something like that on LinkedIn. She's got a large network in her own right. And of course, I have a few myself. So you can be on stage with a couple people that have, large LinkedIn presence, and that can help you too. A lot of the recruiters and the people that hire know Liz or know me or know both of us. So it can help you out either way. But anyways, I'm going to run. I will see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for joining Job Seeker Spotlight. Again, it's on Thursdays, 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, time correct for wherever you are. Have a great day, everybody. BowmanDigitalMedia.com.